Today we're going to be talking about the books I read in February and then the books I want to read in March. So this is kind of like the types of videos I want to start filming because I like reading and I want to talk about it more, you know? Like I think I've sprinkled some of it here and there, but I want to make like reading dedicated videos. So this is the start. I actually filmed one of these for last month for like my books I read in January and then February TBR, but I feel like it's a little late for that now. So if you guys still want to see it though, let me know. But for now, this is all you're getting. By the way, I'm gonna be looking down at my reading journal, so if you see me like looking down, that's what I'm gonna be looking at. I made a whole like spread on like February, like my TBR, the books I read, and then I also made pages for like my reviews. So I'm kind of gonna be just like reading these out for you about the books. Okay, so the first book I read this month was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This was her the newest release. It came out in January, I believe. I don't know the exact date. This is the third book in her series called When in Rome, but it's like Rome, Kentucky, so it's like a small town, and it all follows like a Walker sibling. So like the first one was like the older brother, the second one I think was the youngest sister, and then this one follows the oldest daughter, but she's like the second child. Emily Walker is a second grade teacher, and then Jack Bennett is also like a teacher that she works with. They're in the same profession. They're both like book lovers, so like I really like this book. Now for my review, I gave this 4.5 stars. This is my favorite book in the series so far. It was like adorable and like cute, and like I love their banter because they're kind of like rivals, so they're not like enemies. It's more like rivals to lovers. Like ever since like college, they've known each other, and like since then they've been like really like just trying to get at each other and stuff. And I enjoyed their dynamic as like two bookish people that like reading. Like she's like an aspiring author, and I think his dad is like a big like mystery author, and it's one of her favorite authors, but then he also has like a little secret. I don't know why they use email, but they like would communicate through email, and like we would see little like emails, like I think at the beginning of every chapter, kind of like this is like the very first page of the book is an email that Emily sent to Jack, but it's like the cute little like, you see their conversations on there. It's like I really enjoyed this book, thoroughly enjoyed this book. Definitely my favorite Walker sibling like book so far, and I'm excited for the last one that's gonna be in the series, I think, because there's still one Walker sibling we haven't read from. Then the second book is Unloved. I'm just gonna put it on the screen because I don't have it with me right now. But this book follows Ro and Freddie. His name's I think his name's Maddie, Frederick, but they call him Freddie. It's the second book in the Undone series by Peyton Corinne, and it's just, I gave it 4.5 stars. I really thought I was gonna give it 5 stars, and I'm not gonna lie, when I first finished it, I did give it 5 stars, but then after I read it, I did forget a lot of what happened, so I was like, it's not a 5-star, but I also don't think it's less than a 4, because it was really an emotional read, and like I cried a little bit, and they go through stuff, and like they feel like they aren't enough, like in their past relationships they felt like they haven't been enough, or like any relationship in general, they're just not enough, which is kind of like they feel unloved. Like that's kind of like the why the title is that way. I liked how like the third act conflict wasn't like a breakup, or I think I don't know, because like they kind of like break up, but it's makes sense with the plot. Like I hate third act breakups where they're breaking up and it's just to add the conflict. It's not even like it doesn't make sense, or like the reason they break up makes no freaking sense. Like this one flowed with the story, which I really enjoyed. That's about all I'm saying on that, because I'm not gonna lie, I forgot a lot of what happened. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's more like a 4-star. The third book I read was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I started this series December last year, and I really enjoyed it. I love the first book. So this book follows West and Skylar. Skylar's like a little like pop star, and she's kind of been done dirty in her like city life, so then she's like moving to Rose Hill for like a couple weeks to like work on an album that's like her own with Ford, because he has like a recording company that we see him kind of build in the first book. But Skylar is like working on her album, and then also we have West, who's kind of like becoming like a really good friend for her and like talking about problems. They have a good relationship. The kids are like big fans of hers because like she's an artist, and like he's like secretly the biggest fan of her. And he is a horse trainer, which I'm not gonna lie, I thought, what the heck, but it was very cute. I love Weston. Like, let me tell you, like from the first book I was so excited to read his story. Like he's so sweet. He's like such a good friend for everybody. He's just like so good at making friends. He's very confident, he's good at making friends, he's very supportive of her too. Sorry, I cannot talk about this because I don't want to like make this a spoiler review, but the third act conflict, if you know, you know. What the heck, that was crazy. I felt so bad for her. Like it was insane. Like it wasn't like a big like what the heck, but it's like no one should have to be going through that. And like I'm speechless. Like, let me tell you, when I read that, jaw dropped. I was like, what the heck, I can't believe this is like going. I just couldn't believe it was happening, like it flowed well with the story. Let me tell you, the person that started the conflict, like made it all happen. I did not expect it. Like that's insane that happened. The person that did that is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying not to say too much, but like that happening is crazy, but the fact that it was that person was insane. Next book I read is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the first book by Stephanie Garber I've read, and I've heard a lot of talk that Once Upon a Broken Heart, I think, is like their favorite series from her, but Caraval should be read first. Some people have said that you should read Caraval first because like that series, Once Upon a Broken Heart, has characters from these books, so I kind of want to read this first. But it was like a fun little story. Like, I don't think I've read a book like this. Like, obviously you read books that have trials, like the ACOTAR series, like, like riddles and like mysteries. Like, I've read fantasy books like that. Like, that concept isn't new. Like, ACOTAR has it. Crowns of Nyaxia by Carissa Broadbent has it. Like, the one where like you have to like do a certain thing and like win to get something. In this case, it's like a little carnival and you have to like complete it to get a wish. This book was very entertaining. I binged it. Like, I like read the first like 100 pages, and then once it started getting to like the like shit was going down, like more action started happening and like more things were being revealed, all this stuff, is when I was like, okay, I have to like figure out what the heck is going on, And like the last like 100 pages were crazy. Let me tell you, I was so confused about what was real and what wasn't, because like obviously like the whole thing in Caraval is like, remember, it's only a game, like don't let yourself be fooled. And like the last pages were crazy. And like that's all I have to say, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I liked the little like romance that was happening. Like, it's a little weird, but like Julian, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, he was cool. The girl was kind of getting on my nerves sometimes. I thought I annotated pages, but literally the one page I marked was like one of the notes that they get as like clues for the game. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, the beginning part of like before she started the game, Julian was giving suspicious as heck. If you know, you know. But I gave this a 3.5. It wasn't like the best fantasy book I read, but I feel like it's kind of a good setup for like what might go on in the other books. It was definitely fun and entertaining and definitely continuing the series, but it wasn't like groundbreaking, like new concept, because we've kind of read books like this before. And then I read these 3 books. I read ACOTAR, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. Kind of like the original trilogy of the ACOTAR series. It was my 3rd time reading it, and let me tell you, it hit. I read it this time as audiobooks. Also I'm kind of mashing the book reviews of all of them in one since I already read these. When I first read them, groundbreaking for me, because I think it was the first fantasy series I read. But like the second time, I think this time it hit so much more different for me because I read it audiobook. Like I was listening to it and like just like, I don't know, something about it being read to you was very nice. Okay, I mashed these 2 books together in like one little review box, but I did ACOWAR in like its own little thing because it was just, I'm gonna read it out for you guys. But basically, I was like, girl, the way this had me sobbing all over again is embarrassing. I love these characters so much and I miss this world. So glad I could experience it all over again since like the first time I discovered it, which was 2 years ago. And it hit better, I feel like, with it being audiobook. I read Mad About You by that author. I do not know how to pronounce her name and I don't want to say it and mess it up, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But this book was cute. When I saw this, it was advertised as romance, which is not. So if you're going to read this, keep in mind it's more women's fiction and you're just following Harriet. You're just following Harriet's life. This book is just like very not well advertised in my opinion for what the book actually is. Like even the back, reading it gives you the illusion that it's a romance and it's not. There is romance, but I feel like we only get like minimum 3 scenes of the characters alone and actually having an emotional like talk and getting to know each other. And like the other times they interact, they have people around, so like I just like feel like they didn't, don't get me wrong, like I feel like they fit each other's vibe well, but I feel like we didn't get enough of them talking with each other for them to be ending like in a little relationship. But as a women's fiction, this was a great book, let me tell you. Harriet is like a very like in-demand wedding photographer, even though she doesn't really believe in love and weddings and all that stuff. Like she doesn't really want to get married, but like she loves, you know, being a little wedding photographer. And she's with like a guy at the beginning of the book called Jonathan, or John, whatever you want to call him. And like they have it established since the beginning of the relationship that it's gonna be just like dating. Like she doesn't want to get married. He understood that, but then he like randomly proposes to her and she's like, what? Like I thought you understood that like I didn't want to get married. But he was like, I thought you were joking, all this stuff. They break up. She has nowhere to go because they've been like living together. And so like she sees this guy who has a room for rent and it's like perfect, cheap, well, cheaper than what she like, it's pretty cheap for her. So she like moves in, and he also had his own like little catastrophe of like a wedding. Like he had a little disaster, like he was about to get married and then didn't. So, you know, we get to see that a little bit. We get to see him. We get to like see her move on. We're just like following her life basically after all this happened, and like her dealing with the consequences of like all this stuff, and her having like past trauma that gets brought up and her dealing with it and all this stuff and like moving on. So like this book was very good in that sense. And then also Cal, the guy that's like supposed to be like the main guy character in this book, I guess, he's like, they are strangers, by the way. she doesn't know this guy. They didn't even meet before she accepted like the contract and like moved in with him. And then they meet and they're like, whoa, I think we've seen each other maybe. Like they like know each other previously, and then like she's like talking and revealing all these secrets to him that she didn't reveal to his past relationships, all this stuff. And basically he's just like very well at supporting her and like giving her advice and stuff. So I did love Cal. Cal was such a nice person, and I liked seeing his little glimpses, even though we got very few. But yeah, as a woman's fiction, this book is amazing. As a romance, which is how it was advertised, it wasn't that great. Now for my March TBR, I am very excited because these are books that have been long overdue for me to read. Well, a couple of them. One of them is like a new release, but anyways. The first book in my TBR is Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. I believe this book came out, yes, this came out in June 2024, and I really enjoyed the first book. It's like there's serial killer romance, like dark romances, but they're like rom-com-y. A dark rom-com. Yeah, but they're very funny and entertaining and cute. They're not like super dark, but they're also not like super rom-com-y. So like it's like the perfect mix if you want to get into dark romance but don't want to go into the deep end and read Haunting Adeline. These are like a good little in-betweeners. But I read the first book and it was very entertaining, and like I think these all follow the brothers and their love interests. Anyways, this follows Lachlan Kane. He's like a contract killer and he has to marry some girl. I think this is Marriage of Convenience, like dark romance, because it says that he has to marry this Lark and they can't stand each other. So it's like, I'm saying enemies to lovers very loosely because they might not actually be like straight up enemies, like I want to kill you enemies, but they're kind of like little like whatever enemies to lovers, and they have to get married, all this stuff. She is a singer-songwriter and he is a contract killer, so you know, I'm actually very excited to get into this. Next we have Swift and Saddle by Lila Sage. This is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. The first book followed Luke, I believe was his name, and Clementine. This one follows her brother, West. A lot of Wests going on here. But this one follows West and okay, with the stutter. This one follows West and Ada, who is a interior designer, and she gets kind of brought in because of a project that he has really been wanting to do, and they finally are doing it. And so, you know, she's like a little city girl who doesn't want to like get settled down with a guy, and he is a cowboy, wants her anyway. I literally just read that in the back. I don't really know much more about that. Then we have a book that is long overdue for me, Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is like released last year, I think August. Yeah, this was released last year in August. I bought it right when it came out. I have the receipt and everything. I bought this on the 27th, which is I think the day it came out. But I haven't read it just because I feel like I hyped it so much in my head that I'm scared it's not going to live up to my expectations. But I'm so excited because Henry is such... I love Henry in the first two books. Was he in the second book? I think so. But I really loved Henry in the first book. Like, he's just like a very like tells you what's on his mind, very forward person. Like, he doesn't cut around it, you know, like he'll tell you straight up. Like, he'll just call stuff out randomly. And they're like, that's something you should cry. But I'm really excited. I think it's like fake dating. She's like his tutor because like he needs help. He's an artsy guy. Okay. He became captain of the hockey team once like everybody else left, and he's kind of like not really doing well in classes, so she's tutoring him, and that's them. They like, I'm thinking they're fake dating, but I don't really know the reason why but I'm excited. Like, I really know I'm gonna love this book because Henry is he's such a kind person, and he's really there for everybody. So, another book. I'm very excited for all these books, which I've said literally every single time. The last book on my TBR is Wild Side by Elsie Silver, which was actually released today, the day I'm filming this. I'm very excited. Obviously I'm caught up with the series, so this is like the next book I'm going to read, and I think I'm gonna start it today. And I think it's a like marriage of convenience between Reese and Tabitha, if I remember correctly, is Rosie's like friend from the first book, and Reese is I'm assuming single dad. This is all like a single dad's like romance series, but I don't think that the kid is his own like biological like kid. I'm pretty sure like the reason they're getting married is because she needs like custody of her nephew or something like that, and only marrying him will help. And the back of the book says that she hates him and that she won't forgive him, so I'm thinking he did something, and I think it's because of a secret which nobody knows, and she thinks he's, I don't know what she thinks he is, but he's like a wrestler. So he's like secretly a wrestler. No one knows this. He's like in the little bowling club with all the other guys because of Tabitha, I think. So I'm so excited for this book. You have no idea. I love Elsie Silver. Those are all the books that I am showing you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, whatever you want to do. Leave a like so I know that you actually enjoy this. These are all the books I talked about today. If you guys want to see the reviews of the books that are on my TBR, stay tuned for the March wrap-up, where I will be talking about all the books I read and see if I actually completed my TBR or not. And also do comment down below if you guys do want to see the video that I had filmed previous about January and February. If you do, let me know. I'll get on that and post it. If not, I'm probably not gonna post it just because it's way too freaking late, and the books that were on my TBR I ended up reading. And also, I know I mentioned my reading journal. If you guys want to see a video on that, let me know. And that's it. I will see you guys in the next video.